Strike up the band and prepare to strut your stuff at the most beautiful drag racing facility in all the land. Welcome to Ohio, to Norwalk Raceway Park for the most American of all motorsports, drag racing. Championship drag racing on the IHRA trail. This is the Ohio Lottery AC Delco World Nationals. Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Varsh, along with Ted Jones. Many headlines will be written today, but several have already been written, including one in the very first round of eliminations, as Vaughn Smith in the near lane took on Jimmy Rector in alcohol funny car. Twice they have met in the finals this year. Twice Rector has run. Here they meet in the opening round of eliminations, and Vaughn Smith takes his revenge.
And the revenge is especially sweet because he's trying to catch Rector. This will be the first time that Jimmy Rector is not in a final this year on the International Hot Rod Association circuit. As we look at the replay on this, first of all, Vaughn Smith was quick off the line with a 4:39, better reaction time than Jimmy Rector. He also is going to run a 6 flat to Rector's slowing 6:09.
Well, it had to end sometime, but let's face it, what you've accomplished so far is amazing.
Yeah, it's been a good year. We hadn't run real well here, you know. Just got to go back and work harder, you know. That's all you can do. We'll be ready the last two, but I just broke a lot of stuff. The car is just not, I don't know what I ran then, but that's about all I had.
Yeah, but at this point, you got to feel good about the fact that this is the first time you really have had bad luck.
Well, I've had some bad luck, but we overcome it, you know. I mean, he can make a move, but he's got a tough field to go through.
Got a long way to go.
I don't wish him no bad luck, but I told you all I'm going to be Darlington, and I'll be there.
We'll see what happens.
That was Brett Kepner with a bitterly disappointed points leader, Jimmy Rector. He is done. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the first round of alcohol funny car, we got our first look at Mert Littlefield going up against Bobby Balcom in the left lane, and this was wild.
Bobby Balcom into the guardrail wall, destroying some signs. Then Mert Littlefield blows the blower bell, but since he was ahead, he ends up the winner with a 7:22. Not real impressive at only 129, but I'm sure he'll take it. Now watch as Balcom comes off the starting line. You'll notice that his front wheels are in the air right there. He has no steering, sports fans. There's nothing he can do until he hits that wall and lifts and drops that front end back down.
Hard way to get it steered when you have to lean up against that concrete. Meanwhile, Littlefield tosses the blower belt, but moves on into the next round. There you see it going away. Now let's get you caught up. Quarterfinal action. Our first pair will be this man, Walt, I'd like to buy a vowel, Prisable, from Lancaster, New York, going up against the man who set down the points leader in the first round, Vaughn Smith.
This is Smith's chance to take a big gain in that points competition he's into. He has to be Prisable. Prisable is no easy customer, I'll tell you. He can be plenty tough.
This is the number 4 against the number 5 qualifiers, Smith and Prisable fouls.
Pushing that tree. He knew he had to with Vaughn Smith. Look at Smith's ET, a 6:05. He ran a 6 flat in the most previous round, so he actually is slowing down just a little bit. Watch again, and you'll clearly see the foul start right there on the left side of your screen.
And with that, Prisable's day is done. Vaughn Smith advances into the next round. One more look. Prisable moved first. Actually, not a good reaction time at all from Vaughn Smith. Might have been distracted a little bit by Prisable moving in the other lane. Now our next pair. In the near lane, a troubled year for the 4-time world champion Mark Thomas from Louisville, Ohio, going up against Mert Littlefield after he flew that blower belt in the first round. We don't know what he can do, but he's showing Thomas here.
Top in charge pulls it out for Littlefield, who incidentally is probably responsible for most of the blowers being used in today's competition. Thomas left first with a 4:69, but Littlefield just outpowered him with a 6:05.
On to our next pair. There's Scott Winnie from Spring City, Pennsylvania, going up against Jim Leif, the defending champion here at Norwalk.
That's been the other heavy in competition this year, fans. Jim Leif has been plenty tough. Look on this one. What's going to happen, though? Scott Winnie stops Jim Leif. This is the upset Nationals, 6:18.
And so the number 2 qualifier, Jim Leif, was out, got a little squirrely in that right lane, had to shut it down, get control, pedal it, get the power back. But by that time, Scott Winnie was up and gone. Now our final pair. In the right lane, Paul Zagoda. But in the far lane, the quickest alcohol funny car driver of all time, Bob Newberry.
Bob Newberry, the guy that started the 5-second runs in alcohol funny cars, is on a pass. Only a 6:04. So the track does not have a 5-second run in it at this time. But the speed, 234, and you can see it on top end.
Here's a look at our matchups in the semifinals. By virtue of the quicker ETs, Burt Littlefield and Bob Newberry will have lane choice against their rivals. Beautiful late summer Ohio day. Welcome to round 8 of the 1996 International Hot Rod Association campaign, the World Nationals. The sign says it all. Welcome to Club Norwalk, the country club of drag racing. Bill Bader's Norwalk Raceway Park, site of the World Nationals, and far and away the most user-friendly facility in all of drag racing. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN analyst Ted Jones. Welcome to Norwalk. Now, at any other track, Ted, we talk about the points battles and so forth. But here at Norwalk, you got to talk about the racetrack.
That's because it is state-of-the-art, Bob. Bill Bader keeps it improved all the time. One of the more outstanding differences here at NRP, well, the sportsmen have their own side of the racetrack. There's about 800 of them over there. But over here where we are, it's the pro side. They have their own private return road and everything, and the pros really like that.
No question about that. Our coverage of these World Nationals is brought to you by Precision Gear. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear. We'll be back with Pro Stocks ready to go. Stand by for more from Norwalk. Back at NRP, we're just moments away from quarterfinal action in Pro Stock. But first, to get us up to date, here's Brett Kepner.
Gentlemen, each and every year, the IHRA AC Delco Ohio Lottery World Nationals shatters records. 1996 continues the tradition. Pro Modified Eliminator had to be the most spectacular of them all. 43 race cars trying to qualify for 16 available positions, and as you might expect, it resulted in the quickest field ever. 6.67 seconds just to qualify for the field. That was again led by Scotty Cannon at 6.54 seconds. Pro Stock Eliminator was a quick one, with Robert Patrick, who was long overdue for a #1 qualifying spot, leading the field. 6.80 seconds, the quickest runs of the summer tour, and the whole field was anchored by a 690. But the big news came in the supercharged funny car ranks. It took a 6.17 second run just to qualify, and it was led by Bob Newberry on an incredible record-breaking pass that we'll look into in depth later on. No matter how you look at it, the points battles are now going to have to be determined. I mean, somebody's going to have to come out of this particular event with an advantage if they expect to hold it to the end of the year. And with the points race as close as it is in Pro Stock, in Top Fuel, that's what's going to make this race a tough one. Bob Varsha, what are the weather stats?
Well, Brett, the weather certainly won't make it tough. A little warm at 86 degrees, but nice high barometric pressure. Engine tuners like that, and the humidity very low at 45%. Let's pick up the action of the quarterfinals of Pro Stock now. Our first pair out there. Quite a pair in the near lane. Remember the name Larry Nance? Everybody in Ohio does. The former NBA All-Pro with the Cleveland Cavaliers is now a Pro Stock drag racer. His opponent, young Robert Patrick from Fredericksburg, Virginia, the defending champion in this event. Larry Nance has his work cut out for him.
But remember, Larry Nance came off the trailer at Darlington, South Carolina, and shocked the world because he had not driven a Pro Stocker thus far. However, it looks like Patrick's Ford has the Monte Carlo covered with ease.
The #1 qualifier at 6.800. Not quite as fast there, but looking good. Robert Patrick in the left lane.
Here's everything. Patrick, a 4:17 reaction time. Larry Nance, a 4:64 reaction time. And that tells the entire story. The ETs weren't that far apart.
Well, Robert Patrick had to step up his lights after the first round. That was a surprise coming off the line second, but you nailed him wire to wire on this one. 689.
689, what kind of light did I have?
I didn't hear the actual light, but I know you murdered him.
Well, I know Larry's been going in there and letting the clutch out, and he's been having a lot of good lights, and then again he's been red lighting, and I figured he'd do the same against me, and if it come up on his end, then I was going to be in trouble, so I had to do something there.
You got a lot of top-end power in this thing this weekend. #1 qualifier.
Yeah, it does. We had the track car was loose. It was all over the track, but it'll step up. I mean, that's the worst run in the session, probably.
We'll see.
Thank you.
Well, there's no optimist. By the way, his reaction time, 4:17, pretty slick. Our next pair, John Yoke and John Koenigshofer. Yoke, the number 2 qualifier.
Well, Yoke is off the line first, a long way from that 4:17, though, with a 5:02. Now here comes Koenigshofer. Oh, what a drag race. John Yoke, a 6:89, just over 200 miles per hour. Wow, what a finish, though. We take one more look at that, and as they hit the finish line, you're not going to believe this race. That's tight.
I make it about 0.07 of a second true win. On to our next pair. There's Angelo Alesi, another Buckeye from Cleveland, Ohio. He'll be going up against Floyd Cheek. You want mountain motors? 813 cubic inches of Chevy V8 for Alesi, 814 inches of Ford for Cheek.
Now, bear in mind, the IHRA rules allow 815 cubic inches. That's pushing it all the way up. You have to in Mountain Motor Pro Stock Racing. Cubic inches are everything. Big is better.
Away they go. Good close start. Slight advantage for Cheek in the far lane in the white car.
Alesi tees him, though, with a 690, 201 miles per hour to a losing 692 for Cheek.
Man, another close race. Pretty even off the start line. Cheek gets on to the power a little bit earlier off the end of the launch pad there. Side by side at half track. Who's going to win it? Oh, my.
Less than a foot on that one. Boy, what great drag racing here today in NRP.
Our final pair, Jerry Yeoman from Galena, Kansas, going up against John Noble from Melville, New York. Oldsmobile power against Chevrolet motivation.
But the unusual thing, John Noble running an inch, and you're right, it's a Chevrolet built by a Ford engine builder, John Causey. Another wall-to-wall drag race. Absolutely incredible. John Noble off the line first. The winner, though, is Yeoman.
That's the 4th time those two have met this year. 3 times Yeoman has won. He'll have lane choice in his semifinal matchup with John Yoke, while Robert Patrick will decide which lane Angelo Alesi will start in. Now let's take a moment for a word about technology. Here's Brett Kepner with a track fact.
Just about everybody who watches pro modified racing knows that you have 2 options, supercharger or nitrous oxide injection, right? Wrong. As of the 1996 Snap-on Tools Series, the International Automobile Association became the first drag racing sanctioning authority to permit electronic fuel injection in pro modified or a professional category for that matter. And here's the first machine that is actually using it. Harold Martin out of Detroit, Michigan has been a pro-class campaigner for decades, but he's the first man to actually take advantage of the rules revision that allows something other than the archaic carburetor system that is still used in Pro Mod and Pro Stock Eliminator. Now, the electronic fuel injection on this car is not directly controlled by a computer. Indeed, the EFI system works that way, but it doesn't help the nitrous oxide injection part of it. In fact, Martin's initial use of the nitrous system is actually through the carburation, and then about a third of the way down the run, the EFI is gradually brought in. But one thing's for sure, the EFI works a lot better than the carburetors because the tire shake the team experienced initially made it almost impossible to get down the track. But they figured it out here at the World Nationals, and this thing ran 6.63 seconds in qualifying and is now in round 2.
No wilder class in drag racing than Pro Modified, and there's the king of Pro Mod, Scotty Cannon, supervising the Killer Red Mater. We'll be back. Welcome back to Norwalk Raceway Park. Bob Barsha, Ted Jones, and Brett Kepner with you. We have pro mods in the staging lanes at these World Nationals. First, let's meet this week's Precision Gear Crew of the Week. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear. Here's John Lundberg.
Bob, this week's Precision Gear Crew of the Week starts here with a scene of some incredibly wild graphics. In 1995, Tommy Gray ran a very nice, very quick, very fast, but very plain Chevrolet Corvette. He has changed the game this year because residing in this trailer now is a wildly graphically painted 1938 Chevrolet. Does the race car combination work? We're about to find out.
So I first run it past my crew, they all laughed at me. And then after a couple weeks of explaining why I come out with this image, they all said, well, we'll be all right if we can run good. If not, we're going to get laughed at. So we went to Darlington, won it, and that started the whole deal.
It's real exciting. The fans love it. You hear them scream and holler after the burnouts are done and everything. When you get back here, we're a little bit torn. We have to go back and make sure that all the fans are happy, selling T-shirts and hats, and then we also have to maintain our regular job. So it kind of tears us both directions, but it's still very exciting. The fans can't believe how wonderful this car is. We'd love to have them come. You know, Tommy signs autographs all day long. That's what it's about for us. I mean, making people happy.
Well, there's 4 of us in my crew. My dad, Tom Gray, Sr., part owner of our business. Jim Saul, he's our crew chief, and Steve Schumann, he's basically another crew chief. He handles the clutch.
Now, they, being a rather small crew in terms of numbers, they travel with you most places you go?
Oh, everywhere. Jim flies in. He's from Orlando. Steve's right from our hometown in Baltimore.
You guys are several hundred miles apart. Not only is pro modified drag racing an information gathering business, it's also an information sharing business. How do you guys manage that?
A lot on just talking things out. You know, this is all common sense, mostly racing, and what you have to do is just, you know, from Tommy's point of view, he'll come up with an idea, he'll throw it at me, I'll toss back at him what I think the significant things are from that, and between the two of us, we usually come together with a pretty good plan. Then we take it to Tom Gray Sr., and he gives us his point of view, and that kind of, with the 3 of us, it works out pretty well. We have 3 heads put together to come up with what usually is the best decision.
The Fridge was such a conservative, clean-looking vehicle, and the Undertaker is so outlandish. The aftermarket says that the appearance of a guy's car, and particularly his race car, is a reflection of who he is. Which one are you?
Well, deep down, racing-wise, we're the Undertaker, because that's what we plan on doing, is undertaking.
The name of the car is Undertaker. Its driver, Tombstone Tommy Gray, who finished 5th in the world in 1995 in IHRA Pro Mod competition. With this automobile and the excellent crew he has assembled, Tombstone Tommy Gray will be burying the competition for many years to come. For Precision Gear and Crew of the Week, this is John Lundberg.
All right, thank you, John. Good luck to Tommy Gray and crew this weekend. Now, we told you that you'd get a look at Scotty Cannon. There he is in the near lane, but look fast. 4 times this year he has gone up against Pat Moore. He did it in the first round of Pro Modified here at Norwalk, and he lost.
Pat Moore strapped a tree on him, a 5:12 reaction time. Cannon went 6:69 more, 6:71. He flat out drove him. That's all there is to it.
5th meeting between these 2 guys this year, twice in the finals. Scotty Cannon, the 4-time IHRA Pro Mod World Champion, has won once. Pat Moore has knocked him off 4 times now. Man, what a race. On to the quarterfinals, and there you see Pat Moore, who vanquished Scotty Cannon, the top qualifier in the first round, but he's going backwards. Mechanical problems, he's being pushed off. And that'll mean a solo for this guy, Harold Martin. We met him earlier during the track fact with Brett Kepner, and you saw the name of one of his supporters on the side of the transporter, Thomas Hitman Hearns, the boxing legend.
Tommy Hearns used to drive the IHRA circuit. As a matter of fact, he totaled a Corvette down a Bristol Dragway a number of years ago. Martin will take it easy, just a quick launch and shuts it down. Why? To save the motor. Evidently, he feels that's more important than picking up lane choice.
He will obviously not get lane choice if nothing dramatic happens elsewhere in the round. But Harold Martin is through into the semifinals. On to our next pair. Near lane, the man you just met a moment ago, Tommy Gray. In the far lane, Donald Begley Jr.
Begley has been really running as of late. This guy came out of the sportsman ranks. He's on a tear. He's going to upset Tommy Gray. Incredible. Begley beat him off the line with a 423 and then runs a 672. Listen to this. Tommy Gray, 666, and he lost.
And he also went off the end of the racetrack there. The cornfield beyond. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We've seen some interesting action out there in the cornfield. Our next pair is Tony Pontieri from Bolton, Ontario, Canada, and Mike Janis from Lancaster, New York.
Nearly equal off the starting line. Janis swerves a little bit now and is going to be upset. Pontieri picks up the win, 665 to Janis's 672.
Man, we are seeing carnage. Our numbers 1, 2, and 3 qualifiers are now gone. In the near lane, Shannon Jenkins. He can go. He's number 2 in the points right now. The number 4 qualifier up against Carl Moyer.
Moyer, plenty tough. The Chevrolet dealer from Ankeny, Iowa, has put a whole shot on Jenkins. Can he pull it out? No. Jenkins comes up with the number 663 to Moyer's losing 670.
Here's a look at our brackets for the semifinals of Pro Mod. Tony Bondieri and Shannon Jenkins will have lane choice against their opponents when we get to the semis. But first, we've got the hardest accelerating race cars on the planet, Top Fuel. There's points leader Jim Bailey. He's going slow now. He'll be going quicker in a moment. Welcome back to Norwalk Raceway Park and the Ohio Lottery AC Delco World Nationals presented by Ethanol Performs. I'm Bob Varsha along with Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. A big crowd on hand getting their first look at the nitromethane burning 5,000 horsepower monsters of Top Fuel. There's David Bieneman from Royal Oak, Michigan. He'll be going up against Butch Blair. It's an 8-car field. All 8 drivers are in the top 10 in championship points, and you better not blink in this first round.
These cars make about 5,000 horsepower burning nitromethane. Incidentally, nitromethane, in case you're new to drag racing, is not a petroleum derivative.
It's also not something you want to use in your lawnmower. To the line they come, and with an ear-splitting roar, they are away. The advantage is to Bieneman off the line, and he wins it.
These cars are absolutely incredible, Bob. 5:19 for David Bieneman to move into that semifinal round of competition. Nice 4:76 reaction time.
On to our next pair. In the near lane, Jim Bailey, the points leader coming into this 8th round of the championship. In the far lane, Wayne Bailey, winner of the Spring Nationals in Bristol. He's got problem as he smokes the tires.
Up he goes in smoke. Jim Bailey, an easy win with a 5:20. That'll make him right in the middle of the game. Let's look one more time at it so you can see what happens when you set that clutch wrong. They actually bring the clutch in stages. The second stage kicked in. Up he went in smoke. Taking a look from another angle, you can see the car actually turning sideways before he lifted off the accelerator.
On to our next pair, and there she is, the queen of Top Fuel, performing a nice burnout to heat up the slicks. Shirley Muldowney, a 3-time world champion. This was Shirley Muldowney during Saturday night's Northwestern College Night of Fire final qualifying. Shirley was not in the field, and she made it big time. At 273 miles an hour, 5.05 with a 6. Shirley became the number 2 qualifier. Now she'll go up against the number 7 qualifier, Bruce Linton.
Linton on his rookie year in Top Fuel has Shirley off the line. Then one entire bank goes away. Shirley Muldowney, 5:12. Look at the speed, 283 miles per hour. Whoa, she's got that thing all in the mail.
Shirley is on a roll with 2 straight wins coming in. On to our final pair. There's Rhonda Hartman-Smith. Young female driver hoping to follow in the tire tracks of Shirley Muldowney. Her opponent, the reigning world champion from Cherryville, North Carolina, and number 1 qualifier, Doug Herbert. Herbert in the near lane qualified at 5:03 with a 1. Good launch for both drivers.
Good drag race right down to the end, and Hartman blows an engine, but after she went through the lights. That isn't why she lost the drag race. Incidentally, as we look at the replay, you'll see that she is first off the starting line. She should have won this drag race. Now about halfway down, she has to correct a lot of haze coming off Herbert's tires.
Well, when Doug Herbert made the decision to go with the Canard wings that are becoming so popular, it was because, obviously, you were a little afraid of this place, especially in the daytime heat. It was on a run. I guess it burned some pistons out of a 5:13 at only 2:10.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I could tell it was smoking the tires and moving around down there, but, hey, you know me. I ain't going to turn it off unless it's upside down or on fire. Or even if it's on fire, I won't shut it off. If it's upside down, like, you got to shut it off.
Rhonda was burning a motor up alongside you, but she still won at 22, so you can't ever shut it off early against her.
No, you never shut it off. Never shut it off against anybody. As soon as you do that, you get somebody passes you right down there. Hey, we got to be here. All the people from Snap-on are down here, and we got to do good.
You got to, because
we're in the center of our tires up, too, so we'll have to go back and take a look at that and make adjustments.
It was spinning.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, by virtue of the quicker ET, Doug Herbert will have lane choice against David Bieneman. Shirley Muldowney will have lane choice when she meets Jim Bailey. Now it's time for this week's edition of Drag Review. Here's Brett Kepner with all the news about drag racing.
There's no question the AC Delco Ohio Lottery World Nationals produces world records every single year. In fact, only a few seasons ago, Bob Newberry produced a 5-second alcohol funny car run at this racetrack that then was unheard of. But at this particular edition of the World Nationals, Bob Newberry broke another mark, the 240-mile-per-hour barrier for IHRA alcohol funny cars during the Night of Fire qualifying session. It's important to remember that the International Harvard Association supercharged funny cars have vastly different rules than other forms of alcohol funny car racing, the biggest of which is the legality of the supercharger. The International Harvard Association restricts these cars to superchargers that are basically the same type as were used on city buses back in the early 1960s and manufactured by General Motors. But Bob Newberry, who has made the switch back to IHRA racing, knows probably more about these blowers than anybody else. And Bob, how much horsepower loss is there from the supercharger you're using here to one of the ultra-expensive compressors?
Well, there's probably about 300 horsepower difference, and it really shows up in the speed of the car. With our screw blower, we can run close to 250 miles an hour, but for a Roots car to go out and run 240, that's a pretty impressive run, too. And Norwalk was really good last night. The track was good, the air was good, and we took advantage of it.
Nobody would have dreamed, probably, since the world speed record was 238 miles an hour set at the Winter Nationals, where the atmospheric conditions were astounding, that anybody would have gone 240 at this event. Did it surprise you?
Well, I thought we could run that number. We used to run this blower at the other organization. We ran it at a different weight break. The weight break here, we're 100 pounds heavier. I have been as quick as 569, 245 with a Roots blower, but with the extra weight in the car, I felt that we could run somewhere in the 580 range.
Okay, how about a prediction? How quick can this thing go when we get to the Bristol and Darlington fall events where the air is good?
Well, I think we can run 70s with it. I think we can run mid-240s with it. But anytime you step on a car that hard, it takes a special kind of track condition. And I actually tried to run 580 yesterday afternoon, and you could see what the result was. The track wouldn't handle it. And but when the sun goes down and the track tightens up, it's a different situation.
While the ultra-expensive compressors may make a lot more power, don't look for these Roots-type superchargers to be disappearing from IHRA funny car racing anytime soon. Let's face it, with the International Harvard Association drawing over 24 of these cars at every single event, it seems like the rules right now are just fine. That's this edition of Drag Review.
All right, thanks, Brett. Burt Littlefield's name was on that blower. Both he and Bob Newberry are in the semis. We'll be back. Norwalk Raceway Park, we've talked about all the good things Bill Bader does to make his racetrack fun for spectators and racers alike. We'll give you a little taste of it. The Northwestern College Night of Fire featuring, among other things, jet cars. Dick Rosberg and Bill Matteo going at it right there. But the king of all jet engine-powered vehicles has to be Bob Motz's unbelievable jet-powered semi-truck.
This thing actually runs 200 miles per hour in the quarter mile, and only Bill Bader could put on a fireworks show like that.
I think every track operator in the country should take a lesson from Bill Bader. We are up to semifinal action in alcohol funny car, and our first pair of cars on the track will be Scott Wenny going up against Mert Littlefield.
Wonder if he has one of Littlefield's blowers on the car.
Well, I'm sure he does, but Scott Wenny has an engine out of the shops of Bob Newberry. This should be interesting.
Nearly equal off the starting line. This is going to be an elapsed time race as we come down on top end. Mert Littlefield does it again. 6:05. Look at that. 231 miles per hour in the afternoon heat.
And Littlefield is getting quicker with every round. That's the way you want to do it as you march to the finals. Our second pair, Bob Newberry in the far lane, going up against Von Smith.
This is the race of the day, without question. Oh, Von Smith, a 4:46 reaction time. Newberry's behind at the 8th mile. On top end, it is going to be Von Smith, 5:99.
Both cars go under 6 seconds. 99 with a 5 for Smith. 98 with a 7 for Newberry. He was quicker, but he got left at the line, and it's the guy who gets there first who wins the drag race.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a few weeks ago, this young man won his first ever national event in an emotional final round in Scribner, Nebraska. But now he's just achieved a dream. Not only did you beat him, you hole shot him.
Yeah.
And you ran in the 5s.
No kidding. All right.
99 to his 98.
Ooh, Bob. That's wonderful. I don't know what to say. It's just
Amazing how life turns around, isn't it?
in about 2 weeks. Or less than 6 seconds, however you want to say it.
That's surprise number 3. Now surprise number 4. Lane choice for the final against Murray Littlefield.
Good deal. Good deal. Keep extracting. That's all I can do.
Now, just think, 2 weeks ago you were praying for number 1. Now you're looking at 2 in a row.
It's wonderful. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, Vaughn Smith is on a championship charge. We'll be back with Pro Stocks at Norwalk.
Say hi.
Welcome back to Norwalk Raceway Park, where the World Nationals continue. Everybody having a good time here at Bill Bader's racetrack. Ted Jones, I don't know what Bill's going to do in the future. I mean, strolling musicians, hot tubs, car hops. Who knows? Semifinal action of Pro Stock. Racing gasoline, 2 4-barreled carburetors, and more cubic inches than you can count on your fingers and toes. Our first pair, John Yoke, 812 cubic inches of John Kazi Ford against Jerry Yeoman in his 814 Olds.
Yeoman, the track operator, he owns the Tulsa track that hosted the IHRA event earlier this year. But that doesn't matter to John Yoke. Put a whole shot on him, and the crew knew it. A little congratulations going on there. Ran a 689, coupled that with a 449 reaction time. And you'll be able to see right off the line, Yoke has him covered. Then as they shift into second gear coming off the concrete pad, Yoke still out front. Finally, at the 8th mile, it's going to be Yoke all the way. He's down on top end right now with Brett Kepner.
You got a points race like this where it changes literally by the hour. Nobody's going to get bored. I mean, this is incredible. The points deal just, it's a free-for-all.
Oh, this is exciting. I think all 4 cars in semis all went 89. I think
Yeah.
we're in 89 again. So
Yeah, another 89.
it's so close. Keeps it exciting.
Man, I mean, you can't pick a favorite. You can't say, well, this guy has more experience than this one. It's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful close. So we're just hoping for the best. I don't know what the reactions were, but
Well, the difference is that you get to try one more time.
that's right.
Good job.
Talk about that points matchup. Number 3 in points, John Yoke, just beat number 2, Jerry Yeoman. Now here we have number 4, Angelo Alesi, with whom you ride, up against number 5 in Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick did qualify number 1. He is rolling, but let me tell you something. Angelo Alesi has been absolutely incredible with that brand new Monte Carlo. Watch out. This could be a great drag race. First off the line will be Robert Patrick, a 469 reaction time. Side by side engaged. Wow. Oh, what a drag race. 687 for Robert Patrick. Alesi with a 689.
You watched Alesi go through the gear levers, 5 1,000ths of a second apart at the start. They were 18 1,000ths of a second apart at the finish. That was close. Pro Mod and Top Fuel still to come. Remember what Doug Herbert said about never shutting down? Remember that. We'll be back.
He does not.
Welcome back to Norwalk, Ohio, on a beautiful day for drag racing or watching drag racing. A huge crowd on hand here at Norwalk Raceway Park. There in the pits, Shirley Muldowney packing the parachute on her Top Fueler. Like many of the top drivers, she likes to perform that chore herself. We'll see Top Fuel in just a moment. I tell you, you got to watch Shirley when they're warming up the engine in her rail, and that smile comes across her face. Over on the start line, we are ready for the semifinals of Pro Modified, and our first pair will be Don Fagley Jr. against Tony Pontieri.
Watch Don Fagley. He is absolutely wired into that tree. Remember, he upset Tommy Gray earlier in the program. You saw that with that 423 reaction time.
Don't often see the number 14 qualifier still in the show. That's Pontieri, and what a reaction time for Fagley.
Unbelievable, a 402 reaction time. It's over, folks. That's it. Don Fagley, a 663, stops Tony Pontieri, 664, but it wasn't that close. A 402 reaction time to a 486.
On to our next pair. There's Shannon Jenkins in the car that carried Tommy Mooney to the World Championship last year, going up against Harold Martin.
You can hear them up against those red limiters. Wow, what a whole shot for Harold Martin. As a matter of fact, it's so great. He turns on the red light, Bob. You can't do that. Give the win to Shannon Jenkins.
I was about to say, Jenkins got left, but he didn't. The other guy beat the tree.
Notice on the left side of your screen, you'll clearly see the red light coming on by a bunch.
Martin took a shot at the tree, hoping to hit it perfectly, but he came up about a 1/10.5 short. Now it's time for this week's edition of The Race Mechanic, presented by Holly, the Performance Edge. Here's Ted Jones and Roy Hill.
Bob, this week I came down in the staging lanes to catch up with the race mechanic, and I found what you might call a fender skirt over his tire. Is this a fender skirt? What's going on, Roy?
Well, it's a professional fender skirt. As you can see, we're getting ready to mount up and go out and make a run. This is a cover that goes over our tires, our Goodyear tires, and it keeps the sun off of it. It's like a balloon. When the sun hits a balloon or a tire, it builds temperature. The cover keeps the temperature the same in the shade as the other side. The sun's coming down, that tire's shaded. This one's not without the tire cover. This is a tip from the race mechanic that keeps him from driving to the guardrail.
And we are all for that. Thank you, Professor. Top Fuel semifinals. And our first pair, Doug Herbert and David Bieneman.
Well, Doug Herbert ran a 5:13 in the most previous round, qualifying number 1. This could be a great drag race. David Bieneman turned a 5:19. You can make that up right off the starting line. As you look at Doug Herbert, the intense concentration in his eyes as he prepares to stage that 5,000 horsepower monster.
Doug Herbert comes into this race as the world champion, but he is third in points. He needs to get through rounds.
Can't get much closer than that. Doug Herbert, 5:11 as he steps up at 283 miles per hour.
Actually, Bieneman in the right lane beats the world champ off the line.
But Doug Herbert finds the horsepower at about the 8-mile mark. Bieneman is still ahead. Now here comes Herbert. You can see Bieneman weaving just a little bit.
Herbert's machine wrenched by veteran Jim Brissett. Working the wrenches for Shirley Muldowney in our next pair is her husband, Ron Tobler. She'll be going up against Jim Bailey. Driving for Frank Pfeiffer and Sons. Notice the Superman logo on the chin of his helmet. This should be interesting. Bailey and Muldowney.
They'll stage very carefully, roll that final 7.5 inches. They do it. First off the line, Shirley Muldowney. She's ahead of Bailey all the way. Shirley pulls it out. 4:99 reaction time. Couple that to a 5:21. Jim Bailey went a quicker 5:20. This lady can drive, and you'll see it right off the starting line. Also notice the front end does not lift. Bailey hazes the heights just a little bit, and that could have cost him the race right there on the spot. Down on top end, let's check with Brett.
As we pointed out, in qualifying, Shirley Muldowney again played the drama card. Not in going into the final session, then suddenly up into the top 2 spots. Now you want drama? How about having to beat Jim Bailey? And if not, fall to 3rd in the points, or if you win, take over the points lead.
That would be nice.
Whole shot win. He's one of the reaction time leaders.
We were worried about him. He's awfully good, so I know, God, that last birthday I had didn't do me any harm at all.
It was a whole shot. It only went a 5:21, but I mean, you were both hazing the tires.
God, it just chewed on down through there. I felt better than that, but they all feel good in these cars. I don't know. I'm getting so I can't tell what it runs.
If you can beat Herbert in the final, you are going to go into the next to last event leading the points. I mean, you're leading them now.
Nice, yeah. The only thing, if you're not bumping your nose, it just feels good,
Stay with it.
Herbert's a guy to watch out for. That's for sure.
Well, we have our Top Fuel finalists. Before he went out to the finish line, however, Brett stopped in Don Fegley's pit.
1 year ago, Don Fegley was the darling of IHRA's top dragster sportsman eliminator category. But now his professional category fate rests in the hands of this man, engine wizard Bob Bach, who's making the final adjustments, hoping to get his 706 cubic inch power plant on par with that of Shannon Jenkins in Fegley's first ever final round. It's ironic that here at the World Nationals during this event, Fegley's long-standing top dragster records fell to his ex-arch rival David Price. But rest assured, now that he's in a championship dash in Pro Mod, Don Fegley has definitely graduated from sportsman to true pro.
You bet he has. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Ohio Lottery and AC Delco World Nationals, presented by Ethanol Performs, a part of the Norwalk experience for racers and fans alike. It is happy hour. Time for the finals, beginning with Alcohol Funny Car. Von Smith in the near lane against Mert Littlefield in the far lane.
If Vaughn Smith is going to catch Jimmy Rector, he needs this win right now, and that's it. A little bobble hands it to Mert Littlefield with a 598, 233. Boy, this track is really hooking now, Bob.
In fact, Vaughn Smith actually left on Mert Littlefield. Two very good reaction times, 464 for Vaughn Smith, but somewhere he lost traction off the pad, had to get out of it, and that's all Littlefield needed. He's with Brett Kepner.
Oh, man, this is a storybook. My first national event. You know, we won some division races, but this is...
Spent most of your time in NHRA, and you covered most of the West Coast, but look what happens when you come east of the Mississippi.
Well, you know, so with the help of our sponsor, Standard Abrasives, has made it really possible, and the support from my family and my crew, and Lucas Oil, and...
Let's not forget Littlefield Blowers. They made it all possible.
Blowers, and hey, IHRA has given me the best day at the races I've ever had in my life.
Well, congratulate this guy, because he made it to a final round again. Vaughn Smith had a rough one all year long.
Shaking my butt out, but
mine was just quivering a little bit. I'm lost for words. So
well, it's good to see. I'm glad you had a good time.
Well, you can tell from the way Mert Littlefield was breathing, it is an athletic exercise to drive these cars. Pro stock final, Robert Patrick in the near lane, John Yoke in the far lane. Two great young driving stars.
One thing for certain Ford fans, a Ford will win this one. First off the line is Robert Patrick. Now that young Lion's reflexes are so quick, he picks up the victory with ease. A 683 to Yoke's losing 689.
And this will help Robert Patrick in the points. He came in as number 5. Yoke was number 3. Watch the start. Patrick away. 45/100ths of a second to a 487 for John Yoke. And then Patrick just powers away. Here's Brett with him.
Returning to the site of his first national event win ever. And doing it the way he wants to, getting the whole shot and out-driving his opponent with a 683 from the #1 qualifying spot to the winner's circle. This was your drag race.
Have you driven a quality care Ford lately?
I'll tell you what, nobody's been driving one that's running like this. It was perfect all day.
I tell you what, I want to thank my sponsors, Ford Quality Care, Ford Credit, Red Carpet Lease, Goodyear Tires, AFT Clutches, Lee Edwards Racing Engines. They've all stood right behind me, and we've been in a little bit of a slump, but you know, we've kept our head up, and these guys have gouged and laughed at me, and I think they kind of enjoyed it, but we've come on back.
The last laugh philosophy, huh?
Yeah. I want to thank my crew, my mom, my dad, my girlfriend's here. I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank my crewman Johnny at home with a broken foot. I wish he could have been here.
Oh, man, this Pro Stock World Championship is going to go right to the last pass of the last weekend. The finals of Pro Modified. Shannon Jenkins is backing in after his burnout. This is Don Fagley Jr. We saw his engine man working hard in the pits. We'll see who's got the combination right now.
Pressure is on Shannon Jenkins. With Scotty Cannon going out in the first round, Jenkins could make a significant move with a victory right here at Norwalk.
Advantage off the line goes to Don Fagley in the far lane. Jenkins is out on him. Can he hold him? Yes.
Jenkins ETs him a 658, 208 miles per hour. I'll tell you, he is lucky. Fagley has been wired to the tree. Hey, Fagley, he doesn't want to stop. Bobby just keeps going right off the end of the track. No injury or problem.
We talked to you about the cornfield. Pat Donovan in a top sportsman car went well into the corn last year. Watch this pass. Shannon Jenkins. Remember what Bob Newberry said about the air getting better when the sun goes down? You saw Jenkins using all of it. Here's Fagley's problem. No shoot out the back. The brakes alone aren't going to get the job done. But as you can see, he managed to get the car stopped well short of the corn. Of course, the farmer cut down the corn. He's wise to drag racers.
As you can see directly behind you there, when they try to outrun you, they go to great lengths.
What bad, isn't it? I'm telling you. I seen him shoot one now, and I said, oh, Lord, there he goes.
But you had other things to think about. 658. I mean, just unbelievable performance today.
Oh, Barney just won't do no wrong. This old car, I'm telling you, it's floating power. I mean, everything just worked perfect this weekend. We couldn't ask more.
Well, there's one other thing that you didn't ask for that obviously helped. I mean, with Cannon going out in the first round and you winning this thing, this is a war for the points now.
Darlington's going to be interesting. Yeah. I guarantee it.
Saw the ambulance heading out towards Don Fagley's scene of the crime, but he turned back. No problems there. And now the piece de resistance, the climax of every drag racing weekend, Top Fuel Final. World champion Doug Herbert against former world champion Shirley Muldowney. It doesn't get any better than this, to coin a phrase. Let's take you back a year ago. In the far lane, Doug Herbert. Near lane, young Del Warsham getting a baptism of fire. In the far lane, Herbert has it won, right? No. The engine explodes, cuts down the tire. Remember what Doug Herbert said about never shutting off? Well, now Doug Herbert is back in the top fuel final, up against Shirley Muldowney, and this should be great fun.
Both of these cars are capable of about the same ET. It's going to be reaction time. Shirley has him off the line. A 460. Shirley Muldowney pulls it out with a 520. Listen to this. Doug Herbert, a 519. She beat him cleanly off the starting line.
Let's take another look and watch the front wheels bounce and wave in the air. Both drivers working hard, stepping on it slightly just off the pad. You saw the flames hesitate. 5,000 horsepower at work. Win light for Shirley Muldowney, her third straight. Ron Tobler and the crew go crazy. Here's Brett Kepner with Shirley.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, history has been made at the World Nationals as the driver you see removing the helmet and the safety gear now lays claim to one of the most significant records in IHRA racing. A record that only two people had ever achieved in history before, one of them an arch rival, Don Garlits. That record is 3 consecutive national event wins. Both drivers in and out of the throttle on the run, but like I said, this one is history.
Love you, babe.
Good one.
Thanks for being such a champ.
Only 2 people in history, 3 in a row.
Really?
Now you're in the list.
God, was I afraid of him.
Both of you pedaled at exactly the same moment.
Unbelievable. And it picked that front end right up and set it down.
And I don't know if Doug had the front end problem, but like I said, you both lifted at exactly, you can watch the replay and see the header flames go out at exactly the same time and come back on.
Where I sat, as Mike Kopchak says, it was a pretty thing.
It was that and more. We'll check the damage to the point standings in just a moment. Raceway Park, the event is in the book. Let's check the points, Ted.
Well, Shirley Muldowney does take the points lead, but hey, it's not over yet. As you can see, there's a 3-way race right there between Doug Herbert, Jim Bailey, Shirley Muldowney with 2 events to go. And it's even tighter than that in Pro Stock between Yoke, Yeoman, and John Noble. Taking a look at Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon is in danger. Shannon Jenkins only about 700 points behind Scotty. Once again, with 2 events to go, that's practically nothing. The same holds true for Von Smith as he begins to close in on Jimmy Rector.
Our next stop will be the Fall Nationals from Bristol, Tennessee. Be sure to be with us. Our coverage of the World Nationals has been brought to you by Meguiar's Car Care Products. Meguiar's, for that brilliant finish. I'm Bob Varsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. Congratulations to all of our champions. So long.